Hello and welcome to Summer of Dreams 4, part number 3. There's still going to be a fourth part to this one. I know it's getting long and it's kind of excessive for one item, but there was a lot to cover and I really wanted to put it all into the video. So in this episode, I am really going to put together the majority of the bag. It's going to look a whole lot like a finished backpack at the end of this one. And starting off with this partition that I built in the previous episode, this thing gets stitched in at the bottom, and then I will add on the front panel and some gussets on the back and stitch the edges, the sort of sides of the bag will all come together. And like I said, by the end I'll have the whole main body of the bag combined, and there'll just be a few more parts that will have to be done in the next one. So enjoy! So here is the bag so far. Check it out. I'm pretty excited about this. It's looking pretty good. Back flap is still not attached, but you can see the main pocket has been completely put together. So I've got the front pocket straps on here. The partition is installed with pockets in there as well. And I've done the seams that run along here that are 3 layers thick. So you have the front, you have the partition layer inside there, and then these gussets that are going to form the laptop sort of pocket in the back of it. So yeah, it's coming along pretty well. This next one is probably the most difficult technical seam to do on the bag, just because there's so much going on here, and I have to try and line up the long edge of this to this. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good about this, so I'm about to lay some glue down and stick these two together.
Look! It's a bag. Wow.
So what I'm doing here is using this see-through ruler thing to try and ensure that when I stick this strap on here, it is
parallel with the flap itself. Unfortunately, you can't really trust the rivets to be an accurate enough position, so you need something, and instead of actually marking the leather, I'm trying my best to find a way to just make sure that it'll be as straight as possible without marking the leather. So this is something I think will work. It's a little bit delicate because I don't want to move anything, plus I don't want to accidentally glue this thing onto the flap, but I think it's going to work just fine. I have to wait for these to dry a little bit and then I'll stick it on. So my personal strategy with these has been, even with these for example, and some of the pieces on the front of the bag, I think it's best to glue, then stitch, then rivet, just because the rivets will distort the shape of the leather quite a bit. I think there was some that I might have done the other way by riveting them first. Riveting them first is kind of convenient because everything is held in place really well. But I don't know, I think this makes the most sense, and it'll look the cleanest, I think, when it's done, because the stitching will hold everything properly. And then the rivets, while they are meant to be for strength, they're also sort of decorative. So in this case, this is already going to be well attached, and rivets are kind of just for decoration, but it's all part of the strength of the bag, so it's just doubling up. One of the decisions I made with this bag is actually that I wanted, anywhere that I was attaching the veg tan to the chrome leather, the really soft, the really strong sort of hard leather to the really soft leather, I decided it would be best to rivet and stitch, just to get as much contact as possible, as much sort of surface area and clamping together as possible. Plus this is all glued, of course. But then you can see here, there is no stitching, it's just riveted, and this is just holding between pieces of veg tan. And I just figure it's so much stronger and more sturdy. There's way less give in any of this, that the rivets alone will be fine. Plus stitching this was going to be a nightmare. If I was going to try and stitch around these the same way that I'm stitching around these, for example, it's such solid material that lining up all of the holes and punching them would be very difficult. So I think this is the best compromise. I don't think there's any lack of strength here with just rivets. And when we're using the two different materials, since this is so stiff and this is so, well, not stiff, floppy or malleable or whatever you want to call it, I think it makes a lot of sense to do it this way. So that's my personal sort of decisions on how I attached everything to the bag.